A very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you back into another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. Goonless today, Chris Bucanani, kind enough to fill in as he often does. Booch, always good to see you, and lots to talk about today, especially in the world of college sports, and that's lots of other stuff going on. We'll touch on some of it, including some ongoing events today. We have the World Team Trials for USA Wrestling in 5 weight classes going on, and a very impressive showing by a soon-to-be Nittany Lion wrestler. And then the Pirates are up now 6-2. They had a 6-0 lead, now 6-2 in the bottom of the fourth at PNC Park as we get ready for the Pirates and the Phillies this weekend at PNC Park for what should be a fun 3-game series. Probably more fun for one half of the state than the other. Which half that will be remains to be seen. Booch, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well, Ironhead. Thanks. Yeah, boy, there sure are a lot of college sports stories swirling around, right?
Man. A ton, and I don't even know. Do you have a preference on where you want to start? Because there's, and I mean, this has been the situation for the last several years where we just have so much uncertainty around so many different key elements of the sport, and I'm consuming probably too much information on it because everybody, including me, thinks they have some idea on where some of this is heading, and we don't really. When Goon and I were talking on Tuesday, Booch, the one thing about this that still is something that is going to have to be figured out, and I just don't know how you even begin going about getting it figured out, is the collective bargaining element of it. And maybe we'll kick that around a little bit because, as I'm reading through, and the stories are just nonstop right now about what different schools are doing with their athletic budgets and how they're handling it, what sports are getting monies and appropriations, what sports aren't, what sports are basically being left hung out to dry. There's not a whole lot of actually canceling sports that I've seen yet. There's been some. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's not happening, but
there have been some tennis programs at various schools you see get shut down. That's the one sport I've seen starting to actually get axed a little bit in a few locations is tennis.
Yeah, and I think, but the practical impact of these sports that are not getting cut, but are not getting the scholarships anywhere near what the competitive programs or the top programs are getting. I mean, in essence, you are cutting it from being a varsity sport. I mean, the writing is on the wall at that point, because why would you keep spending money as an athletic department on a sport that you're not being competitive in? And this is kind of what I thought from day one, ultimately. And again, I'm still not, I don't have a good feel on when this kind of all shakes out, whether this is going to be like within the next year or whether it's going to be more of a 5-year process. But it does feel, and actually I was just reading a piece before we went on here on the college football component of it, and there is already now starting to be a push by some TV executives that, hey, we've got too many schools that are involved that have no business being involved.
Thank God.
And yeah, let's get this, but they want to get it down to a more manageable, let's just get to the big boys, if you will, which again feels like where we're heading. I just don't know how quickly we're heading there. And I think it's going to be the same in all of these sports. I was reading through. Goon sent us the thing on Notre Dame, and it's what I mean. Some of the schools, Penn State has done the same thing. They just haven't. There hasn't been a public story about it, but they've made the decision on what sports, and I'm not sure on a couple of them. I am sure on some of them where, all right, yep, we're kind of all in, or at least we're in hockey, wrestling, and some sports where they're out. I'm not sure on a few of the sports whether they're in or out. I just don't know. I'm not close enough to them, and I don't know enough about how some of the deals work when it comes to the NIL stuff to know where they're at. But what ultimately is going to occur here, I think it is becoming apparent, is we're going to have, probably in football as well. Basketball may be the one exception, Booch, at least as I'm looking at it, where I don't know that schools are going to. I think you can have the many hundreds of programs at the D1 level, in part because it's not because of the revenue generated from the now streaming contracts as well as TV contracts, but also relatively speaking, certainly compared to football, the expenses are not anywhere near those numbers. And so basketball may be the one sport that doesn't see a dramatic decrease in terms of the number of D1 programs. It feels like there's going to be a pretty substantial cutback on just the number of D1 / big time programs in most of these sports. But again, what I don't have a feel for is like when we talk about a big time cut down, are we in a sport like wrestling, are we going to get down to like 20 programs, or are we looking at more like 40, 45? And not just, I mean, wrestling obviously near and dear to my heart, but I think across the board, again, I don't know where the numbers are going to settle in at, but it does feel like we're going to get a pretty substantial drop here in terms of the scholarship opportunities and along with it, the NIL opportunities for student athletes at the D1, the big time D1 level.
Well, I'm not sure, Ironhead, if you and Goon have talked about it on the show yet, and I missed it, but have you guys talked about the comments that were made about a week and a half ago by the athletic director at North Carolina?
We have not gotten into that.
So for the benefit of the audience, the basic summary, and I'm paraphrasing him here just a bit, is that the future he envisions, this is at UNC.
Yeah.
So big time college athletics program. Their athletic director said the future he envisions on the horizon for college sports is that there will be 2 sports where we pay you to play, meaning football and men's basketball, and the rest of the sports where you pay us to play, where you translate that to mean that every other sport is essentially destined to become a club sport.
Which, again, I think is possible. I also, I read through that, and again, maybe that is where we ultimately head. I can see that happening. I also can see enough pockets of interest in some of these sports, and namely, at least off the top of my head, I think hockey, baseball and softball, possibly gymnastics, but I think women's volleyball, where you have enough interest, both just from a fan base and from, importantly, the big money donors. And I think those sports are well enough established that they can tap into either a combination of the professional sports leagues in those sports and the boosters and everything else. And hey, you know what? With again, 20 teams, we can make this work. And then it's just the top 4 go into a championship, or the top 8, and however that works, you figure out the playoffs. But it becomes more like the NFL and like the professional sports leagues, where you have, now I think most of the leagues are at 28 to 32 teams, in that neighborhood anyway. Maybe even a little less than that when it comes to the college ranks, in terms of, you know what, we think we can create a business model here that makes enough sense that we can pay, probably minimally, but can pay the athletes to go ahead and compete in these sports. And maybe you have, financial incentives there for the championships, to make sure everybody is that is in on those sports is all in. But again, maybe that's not a workable model either. It just seems, with all of the streaming and TV sources now, and there's a couple of wrestling I think would be borderline on that, because where it is big, Iowa, Oklahoma State, Penn State, it is big. The problem is you can't really run a league with 3 or 4 teams. You got to have, I don't know what the magic number is, but I'm thinking you got to have at least 16 to make it a viable sporting opportunity. It would be at least my initial thought.
Well, the thing is, you look at the so-called Olympic sports, and women's volleyball and softball for sure, and to a little bit lesser extent, men's ice hockey. Those are TV inventory sports.
Yeah,
like right now, beyond the conference networks, so whatever, like BTN or ACC network or whatever, FS1, ESPN, occasionally even Broadcast Fox, they are dipping into their rights to those sports to put those games on TV.
Yeah.
Wrestling, I feel like probably, if we were talking about it as a TV inventory sport, it doesn't really become a big deal until you hit the postseason. But that wrestling tournament, that's become a revenue generator for ESPN. So there are some sports that, when I think about, access to some money coming in through the media rights deals, which is really where the bulk of the money is to support college football. Those are the 4 off the top of my head that I think about: men's ice hockey, women's volleyball, softball, and wrestling. It's interesting to me. I always felt like there should be more of an audience for collegiate baseball. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem like it works, certainly as a regular season TV product. But even the College World Series, I feel like, should get more attention than it does. It's just something that has never caught on the way I felt like it could potentially.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the way soccer has grown as a spectator sport, both in terms of MLS and then like the European leagues, again, I thought, if you rewind the clock to when we started varsity ice hockey here at Penn State, I always believed that if you could have a Big Ten ice hockey conference and translate the enthusiasm for all the big brands in the Big Ten, that the schools that had D1 ice hockey programs were in great hockey markets, and that would work. And it clearly has. It's been Big Ten ice hockey has been a moneymaker for the conference and for their media partners. And if you look at the breakdowns of what sports are making what money, ice hockey is just about breaking even for Penn State, which, as you know, Ironhead, in the math of intercollegiate sports, if you're not costing the athletic department a bunch of money, you're making them money. And so, I always thought, okay, well, couldn't this, I know there's this growing U.S. audience for soccer. Couldn't the same apply? Wouldn't, you translate adding these like Michigans and Ohio States, North Carolina, Texas, Penn State. Texas may not have it. North Carolina doesn't know. Penn State. You ought to be able to build a niche following for that, right? It's just, it just hasn't worked for whatever reason.
Yeah, it is. I don't know, and it's hard to project. Lacrosse is another one that the overall like the sport is growing at the high school, youth and high school level nationally. I'm talking about,
Yeah.
and even professionally. I mean, there are more teams now with the major, what is it, major is it major league lacrosse, major whatever it is, lacrosse league, that they that again, it where it is big, it is big. Where it's not, you're not going to grow into areas that don't have the interest already. But that's another one where, all right, could you get enough schools with enough interest and financial backing? And it's all going to come down to the financial backing. That yeah, we can at least make a run at this. I don't know. It is changing so quickly, and then in with this, I I was reading sometime in the I think it was last night. I was stumbled across an article on the saw they're looking, well, not, I think they voted in to do this, that they are changing the soccer season now to a 2 semester season, which seems to me like wrestling keeps they has had the conversation off and on for the last several decades about, hey, this would be a lot easier and to manage, I'm talking about, if we made it a 1 semester sport. And there's been arguments either way. Generally it seems to be more, let's make it a spring sport, let the kids get their academics in order up through December. But here's soccer, and this doesn't go into effect. I can't remember now if it's the 27-28 or I think it's the 28-29 season that they're looking at enacting that. And again, it may be a moot point is my concern by that time. But what is one of the other fascinating components to this, to me, Booch, is the amount of money that if these schools do go, or these programs go by the wayside at these schools, when you look at just in the last decade, certainly here at Penn State, but I mean, it's not just a Penn State thing. You look at the money invested in, for example, Penn State, the soccer program, since we're just on that, but I mean, across the board in the facilities, and all of this is going to be just for naught, or you'll just have really great facilities for these, intramural type of programs or clubs, not intramural, but club sports. And again, I can make the argument, and I actually did for a college paper once, that this is the way college sports should be, that it shouldn't be a big money business. It should be an extracurricular activity. And hey, yeah, while you're at school, you're good at lacrosse or you're good at wrestling, let's get you together with some other schools that are, nearby, and we'll make the 3-hour drive here or there and let you get a match in, and then maybe have a big tournament at the end of the year, and we'll raise funds and let everybody head out and participate in it, which is the way all of this started with college sports. So, on one hand, again, for me, it'll be heartbreaking because I just love college athletics across the board, and I love the big time feel of it, and I love the the show and getting to different events and watching the way crowds interact. I think it's just fascinating to me. If you go to like a wrestling match and watch the way the crowd responds to various elements there versus a gymnastics meet versus, let's say a golf tournament or a tennis match, like it's just fascinating, the different interactions, a football game versus a baseball game, and just the again, the different cheers that go up, and the different traditions and interactions that the fans have with the athletes. And I think you can have some of that, obviously. I mean, we have D3 programs and we have club sports now that have good followings. I mean, you go back to Penn State hockey, obviously before it was a D1 program, had a terrific following as a club program. And by terrific, I mean they got 1,000 folks into a 1,000-seat facility on a very consistent basis, and it was a great atmosphere, and it was a lot of fun, and I think everybody involved in it will tell you even now they have very fond memories of those experiences. But it's just such a different concept from what we have now and what we've become accustomed to. And listen, I think the other part of it, Booch, is the instruction that comes with it when you have the money involved. And again, by comparison to football or basketball coaches, sure, college lacrosse coaches are not making that kind of money, but they're making pretty good money. If you go to the club sport route, makes it very difficult to continue to attract and retain the caliber of coaches that you have now at the collegiate level.
You raise a good point there at the end about the coaching. I hadn't even really thought about that. Where is the income going to come to pay the salary of these coaches? I mean, that whole infrastructure gets blown up if these sports have to go by the wayside. People just, Ironhead, I don't think appreciate the degree to which at schools like Penn State, where we're fortunate enough to have a football program that makes a lot of money and athletics operates in the black, football's paying the bill for practically everyone.
Yep.
The real problem is, I mean, that's a sticky wicket now because of NIL and revenue sharing and the push towards the players who are responsible for earning that money reaping most of the benefit of it. But then you look beyond schools like Penn State that, as I said, have self-sufficient athletic departments. Then the picture gets even murkier and worse, because the way a lot of schools, including several in the Big Ten, like Rutgers is a perfect example, the way they are making up the difference between what their athletic department spends and what it brings in is they're dipping right into the general fund. So that means if you're a taxpayer in a state where it's a public university, which almost all the schools in the Big Ten are, or you're a student who's enrolled there, you're helping to subsidize the deficit of their athletic department. So that makes it an even less sympathetic case when push comes to shove, and the razor blade and the pair of scissors come out in terms of how we're going to cut the budget up.
Yeah, it's it's just going to be an ongoing conversation and again an ongoing storyline, and it just it is inevitable that some of these programs are going to go by the wayside. I guess the question is to the degree and how quickly do we get to the smaller college sport, big time college sports landscape, and is there anything other than football and men's basketball that survives as quote unquote big time, what we think of now as D1 sports. And again, I think you could make a compelling argument either way on that. We do have somebody asking about the quarterback, Peter Bork. This is interesting, Booch. Peter Bork is more of the old school, big drop back passer, and he did choose Virginia Tech today over Penn State and others. But it sounds Penn State is at least very much involved with Will Wood, and it's one of those things, Pooch, where and I just don't. I know you follow it a lot more closely than I do. I just
unfortunately
the recruit, and it's the lifeblood. I'm not saying it's not critically important. It's just what you don't know right now what the actual impact of any of this stuff is. And you won't know until until their careers play out. Even, I mean, we've seen guys get off to hot starts and then fizzle out. We've seen the opposite. We've seen guys who were can't miss prospects get into a particular situation where it just wasn't working. They couldn't crack the starting lineup. And every now and then, I won't say it's the norm, especially these days, because I do think the recruiting services, more so than ever, in part because they have more data than ever, right? These kids are going to different camps and they're getting more accurate assessments against other top kids around the country. But every now and then you still have that 2 or 3 star guy that sneaks in and develops into that superstar. Witness Fernando Mendoza is the most recent example and most glaring example of that. But I don't know. I know there are some people worked up about it, and especially because it's James Franklin of Virginia Tech that Bork chooses over Penn State. I don't know. I can't get as worked up as some are about a particular recruit. Now, if Penn State ends up without a quarterback, or they don't get anything above a 2-star in the class, okay, yep, that's a concern. But the fact that they lost out on a guy to Virginia Tech, again, speaking just for myself, I have a hard time getting all that worked up about it.
Well, yeah. So I have a few thoughts on this. And before I say anything else, let me just acknowledge that, yes, it is not a great look to lose a head-to-head battle for a quarterback to James Franklin. I get it.
Of course.
There are some caveats, though, that I am not saying as spin or damage control. It just is what it is. And in no particular order, they are these. First of all, to your point you just made, Ironhead, no one recruit is as vital as they used to be because of the transfer portal, but especially at quarterback. Think about the teams we've seen playing for the national championship the last few years. What have they all had in common? They're all just bringing in free agent quarterbacks practically every year. So if you miss on a guy in a recruiting cycle and you don't feel like you've got a clear succession plan in place with some of the health issues swirling around Alex Mansky, I think it's fair to say is maybe the case at Penn State. If push comes to shove, folks, you always got the transfer portal to just put a Band-Aid over it. And in many cases, schools that absolutely can and do go out and pull elite high school quarterbacking recruits like Oregon or Miami still ultimately say, we don't want to wait around to develop our next quarterback. We just want to pluck them out of the transfer portal. So that has really changed substantially.
Yeah.
Another thing I will say in this situation, I liked but did not love Peter Bork as a quarterback prospect. If Penn State would have landed him, I would have been happy, but I'm not completely convinced. I'm not at all convinced, to be honest, that I wouldn't have just been happier to have Will Wood anyway. And I also think it is maybe a case that this staff came in and said, okay, we feel like we've maybe gotten in with Will Menzel, the number 1 quarterback in this class, because Taylor Mauser, our offensive coordinator, is from his hometown and knows his high school head coach. So let's see if we can get into the mix with this kid, which they did, but they ultimately lost out to Oregon, which was kind of the consensus going in that they were going to be the favorite. From that point forward, Penn State had already been involved with Peter Bork while James Franklin was here. They are obviously heavily involved with Will Wood from up in Massachusetts. But I do think the staff kind of looked at it and said, okay, we missed out on Menzel. Maybe our big quarterback swing is going to have to come in the class of 2028. So we're going to try to get one of these guys, but we're not necessarily recruiting our quarterback of the future in the class of 27. Now, to go back to Bork, one of the things that I was not super jazzed up about him as a prospect is that there was a lot of talk that he was really working all the schools that were recruiting him heavily to pit them against one another in a bidding war.
Yep.
Now, I don't like that for a number of reasons, one of which is, given everything we just said about the transfer portal, I'm not sure from like a resource allocation, roster construction standpoint, spending a lot of money on recruits is a smart investment. The other thing is, you wonder just about like the character and commitment of a guy who's trying to pit 5 or 6 different schools against each other in a bidding war. And you also wonder, what are the odds you're going to be able to keep that guy on campus if he's already thinking as a 17-year-old, how can I chase the biggest paycheck?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my last point now, is that fascinatingly to me, Ironhead, the quarterback room at Virginia Tech now, to say nothing of Bryce Baker, who they brought in with Ethan Grunkemeyer, who looks like he's going to win the starting job there. And I think it's probably good for 2 to 3 extra wins for James Franklin next year. I think very highly of Grunk. But I look at Ethan Grunkemeyer, Troy Hoon, and now Peter Bork, all bunched up together, all the same style of traditional pocket passer, who, by the way, fit the same mold as the quarterback we just sent to the NFL. And the only news stories coming out of Steelers rookie camp this week is that Mike McCarthy, who, whatever you may think of him, has an established track record of being able to coach and develop quarterback, says this guy doesn't know his rear from his elbow when it comes to playing the position. And now we've got 3 quarterbacks who fit the same mold, none of whom match the kind of offense that James Franklin wants to run. Yeah. And so I look at that whole situation. I think, okay, Grunk's got 3 more years left. Troy Hoon's going to be a true or a redshirt freshman, and Bork's going to be a true freshman. Are they going to keep this room together? Like, probably not. So I'm going to sit here and like self-flagellate because we lost one head-to-head recruiting battle for a quarterback who was trying to gin up his own NIL market without having taken a single snap in college, and who I didn't even particularly love as a prospect just because it's James Franklin going after him. Like, yeah, no, I'm not about it. So I get it. It stings a little bit, but in this world of college football, with that recruit and the respective quarterback rooms of Penn State and Virginia Tech, like, it's just not worth getting your dander up in the middle of May.
Yeah, again, you want to win any recruiting battle you can, and obviously, Penn State was going after him for a reason. But at the end of the day, I feel like these things work out how they're supposed to. And as you said, one of the things these days, and I think fan bases are generally pretty wise to this now. There was a time where, a Dan Kendra going to Florida State elicited, all kinds of vitriol toward him. And this is before we even had the social media vitriol. I just remember taking
That's a great pull, Ironhead.
On, this is, how could you lose on this guy? And
can we just pause and refresh the audience's memory about who Danny Kendra is? Because that is one of the great stories, one of the great cautionary tales all around of college football recruiting and of the perils of obsessing over it.
Yes, we will. But before that, just real quick, the thing, if you are convinced that Bork is going to be that next great college quarterback, and man, does it stink that Penn State missed out on him. First of all, no vitriol. First of all, why are you having vitriol toward an 18, 19-year-old kid to begin with?
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, honestly, like, come on, because he didn't pick your school. But also, yes, he may pick your school now next year. He may get to Virginia Tech and after a year say, you know what? This stuff with James Franklin isn't all it was cracked up to be. I want to go somewhere else. Boy, I remember Penn State was second on my list. Let me go give them a call here, and let's revisit that possibility. So you don't know how these things are going to work out. And again, I'm not predicting anything. Bork may be perfectly happy there, may end up being a 5-year starter with the new rules that seemingly are going to go into effect here in 8 days now from today. But the Kendra thing was so at the time we were doing a local sports talk show on then WRSC with Phil Gross, who was one of the few recruiting analysts at the time, and tried to keep tracks on everybody. It wasn't a situation where you're inundated the way we are now. If you're interested in that stuff, I mean, you can get 50 different opinions on all of the recruits out there and the class rankings and all of that. Phil, was, I don't know, one of the 3 or 4 that were nationally known that followed it closely. And obviously he was a Penn State guy and was following the Penn State part in particular. And so Dan Kendra, for whatever reason, he was a terrific high school player. I mean, when I say for whatever reason, but again, it was a recruit. But Penn State fans it was like, when Dan Kendra selected Florida State, I can't tell you the number of calls we took on just the devastation that fans.
He was the number 1 quarterback in his class. He was supposed to be the truth.
Yes, it was like the can't miss, multiple Heisman Trophy winner, that type of talent, and he ends up not even finishing his career as a quarterback, let alone being the top-rated quarterback. And all
that is the most remarkable part of the story to me. Just so folks understand, this guy was the number 1 ranked quarterback in his class.
Yeah, and truly everybody wanted him. I mean, there wasn't a school that if he had said, "Man, I want to come to you," would have said, we're good.
Pennsylvania kid, of course, you're like Penn State, flagship program in the state. How do you not get the number 1 over quarter? That young man, I don't believe Ironhead took a meaningful snap at the quarterback position for the entirety of his Florida State career and ended his last season in Tallahassee as a backup fullback. And he didn't even start.
Yeah.
There were rumors and allegations, allegedly, Ironhead. It was a time when they were a little bit looser with the testing policies in all sports at all levels, and that there may have been some attempted chemical enhancement, which did not progress Dan Kendra's career the way he hoped it would.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that, other than for me to say he was dating a player on the women's volleyball team here.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing him his senior year when he was up for a match. And I thought, oh yeah, those are more than just rumors.
Yes. I mean, that was a hot topic as well back in the day. I think Penn State's going to be fine. I don't get worked up.
So the follow-up question here is, when has a team like Virginia Tech gotten a top 10 quarterback over Penn State or any position? This is alarming. I'm not going to go so far as to say alarming. Look, if you go back and you look at some of these lists of top 10 quarterbacks, there are some real clowns on that, on some of those lists. So top 10 quarterback, it is what it is. I will say something that maybe is a tad controversial, but it's for real. I really don't care if Penn State sends quarterbacks to the NFL. It's great if we do it, and it's great if it helps with recruiting, but I am interested in Penn State winning college football games.
Yeah.
And if the best way to do that is to bring in a dual threat quarterback who is not going to be one of the 32 players entrusted with an NFL offense, but you win a bunch of games, that matters not at all to me from my perspective as a Penn State fan. But I do get it. The one thing I will caution everybody is James is a great recruiter, and he has clearly taken that program to a different level. Now, is that going to play out on the field? Is it sustainable? If he can sustain it, is he going to stay there? I doubt it, by the way. Those are all open questions. But I do remind everyone that it wasn't that long ago that even towards the end of Joe's career, he still had it going in the second half of the 2000s, and we were winning Big Ten titles and routinely competing for 9 and 10 win seasons. And Frank Beamer was in the same position. And Penn State and Virginia Tech were going head-to-head for recruits, and sometimes we lost battles. So it happened, and it was fine. And in the short term, it's probably going to happen a few more times. And, we just got to remind ourselves that even back then, it wasn't that big a deal. Now, when you can just fix virtually any high school recruiting trail screw up in the transfer portal, it's even less consequential than it was before.
Yeah, no, I think that's a more than fair point. We'll take a break here. When we come back, maybe we'll talk. Pirates are up now 7-2. We'll talk a little Pirates Phillies and prospects for both of those teams over the remainder of the season. And then we'll get back to some college sports and some wrestling news here today as well. You are listening to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show, and we are coming to you from Quaker Steak and Lube, a great place to come on down and watch all of your favorite sports teams on the multiple TVs located all throughout the restaurant. Of course, great food, great beverages, and great service here at Quaker Steak and Lube as well. We're back right after this.
You look a bit nervous, hey?
Thierry, what's it like to stand in the FIFA World Cup stadium?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Just tell me. Come on.
It's not something that you can put into words.
Such a tease.
You can't rush it. You will find out when it's your time.
Thanks for the wisdom, coach. So, how much longer?
Now go and make history, my man. Here's the World Cup you've been waiting for.
Actually, the World Cup's been waiting for me.
That's the spirit. Just remember who drove you here.
Inspiring every step of the next legend. The official matchball carrier, proudly sponsored by Kia. Inspiration connects us all.
And all kinds of other tempting things. Great times, great food. Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food. Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Hi, welcome to Timberland Federal Credit Union, a financial cooperative for its members, tracing all the way back to 1973.
Experience Timberland Federal Credit Union, where you're greeted with a smile and financial solutions are tailored to your unique life journey. Here, we're not just financial professionals, we're your neighbors, people invested in your financial needs, literacy, and empowerment. Your dreams matter to us, whether they're about buying a home, growing a nest egg, or embarking on new adventures. TFCU draws from the past and invests in the future, offering modern tools like online banking to give you the freedom to manage your money practically anytime. Additionally, we're passionate about giving back both time and resources because enhancing our community is at the core of why we're here. Visit TFCU in person or online to learn more about our services and apply for a membership today.
WFXS, once again, the Fox, your sports radio.
Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7, the Fox State College.
And we are back here on a overcast, we'll call it Thursday. Had a little bit of rain earlier. Hoping to get a Little League game in tonight for the kiddo. We'll see how the weather holds up, or if it holds up.
Might be a little chilly, but I think you'll be able to pull it off.
Yeah, although Goon and I have been talking, and there was actually a piece. I guess the NCAA is asking schools to maybe be a little more proactive in trying to get their baseball games in. Apparently, the cancellations or postponements of college baseball games. Well, I guess cancellations, postponements are one thing, but cancellations, I guess, are up very substantially, and it's not making the folks in charge ultimately happy because of the expenses involved in getting teams to and from places. And then obviously there's also the media contract component of it. But apparently we were commenting, and I wasn't even thinking of it, or I'm not sure I was aware of that being an issue at the collegiate level. But I have been amazed at the number of high school baseball and softball games, and certainly Little League and Youth League games that have been canceled or postponed on days where it's like, I mean, yeah, it's not an ideal day. I will grant you that, but again, it's the I feel like I've very quickly become the old fuddy-duddy, but I'm just telling you, when we were kids, like, yeah, it rained, and unless it really impacted you, you went out and you played in the rain.
Right.
And, and the cold temperatures, which is what caused some of these cancellations or delays. It's like, well, no, that's just the way it is. Now, it's one thing, if it's 10 degrees, okay, I will grant you, and windy, yeah, all right, let's not send the little ones out. But it's 40 degrees and yeah, there's a breeze. Yeah, it's not a great day. And also go out and play.
You would think nothing of playing a football game in those conditions. Ironhead, did you ever have the pleasure back in the day of the old Penn State baseball field, which was not a stadium? It was basically like a Little League park next to Beaver Stadium.
Yes, indeed.
And you just got one of those really miserable, like, March weather in April kind of days. Brutal.
March weather in May. Well, and the thing was that field, just for whatever reason, was a wind tunnel. And so
brutal.
You knew when you went there to dress at least 10 degrees colder than it actually was. I mean, even if it was like a 60-degree day, it's like, it's going to feel like 50 there. So maybe bring the jacket and just be ready. It just it was always worse there than it was just about anywhere else in the area.
Yeah, we had to have a producer bring us hot chocolate at a baseball game one time.
Pat Boland, may he rest in peace, was a Penn State baseball stalwart and was just there. I mean, broadcast a lot of games, but even when he wasn't, he was just there. And my image of him when I think of Pat Boland at the Penn State baseball games was in a winter jacket, regardless of what time of year it was, because it was just that type of setup there. But it does seem like we're just and even at the major league level, this isn't necessarily a discussion point I thought we'd go down, but we went to the Pirates game on May 1st, and I only know the date because it was May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and my wife gets invited to run a table down there, and it was like you're looking at the radar, and it's like, well, we got a little bit of rain, and then, yep, there's going to be more rain coming, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to delay the game until after the rain blows through. And I was like, well, that's going to be another hour till it blows through. So another hour and a half until we start the game. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's not a storm that we're seeing coming in. It's rain. And I don't, and even, and it came through and I'm like, I don't know why they couldn't have played in that. It wasn't even like a torrential downpour for even a short period of time. It was, we had some rain and it did blow through and they waited. And, again, we ended up having to leave a little early just because we had events that we had to get to the next morning. But even at the major league level, it just seems like we're just becoming softer or not as adamant that we just play through. And again, I'm not, I'm okay with, hey, yeah, it's an absolute downpour. The wind is, ridiculously gusty, or, again, you're sub-freezing temperatures for a little league game. Okay, I'm down with all of that. It just seems we're making decisions. It might be a little uncomfortable today. Yeah, never mind. Let's not play. And I don't know. For outdoor sports, that just seems very unusual to me. And apparently it's happening. Well, like I said, that was a major league game, but it's happening at least at the collegiate level as well as the high school and the little league level. But
well, I can tell you from personal experience, that attitude does not extend to the summer swim league around here, unless there is lightning, obviously, that's a big no-no for water sports. Or like a tornado on the horizon, it can be a monsoon, and you are going to be out there and you're going to be doing that meet no matter what.
Which, you're going to get wet anyway.
Sure.
Now, temperature-wise, is there? I don't think we have terribly. Typically, anyway, we don't have terribly cold nights once we get into swim season. Is there?
Yeah, no, I've never heard that come up. Knock on wood. And hopefully, this new ultra El Nino or whatever they're saying we're going to get this year won't create some new problem for us. So I am gonna knock on wood there, because some of the wacky temperatures we have had this year, who knows?
Yes, it has been. Yeah, and I guess we're getting into the 80s here next week, like mid 80s, to go from what we've had.
Whatever, 40 degrees, 85 degrees, whatever you like, you're going to get a little bit of it right now.
Skipping over the 60s and low 70s, though, which is the sweet spot, which would be nice. But anyways, Pirates Phillies coming up this week, and again, fun series. You can't get too worked up one way or the other, win or lose 3 games here in May. But it is going to be, I think, fun for the fans of both teams. Both teams feel like they are going to be relevant. We'll see how that holds up, but at least in the running for a playoff spot through most of the season anyway. I keep waiting for the National League Central to start to separate, but still everybody above 500 right now. And the Pirates just having a really hard time making up any ground on the Cubs, who just remain ridiculously red hot. Again, Pirates are up 7-2, so looking to try to take 2 of 3 here from the Rockies. And again, they've been winning. Should have won the series with the Giants over the weekend out in San Francisco, but they're winning more series this season than not. And again, one hot streak, 7-8 game win streak away from maybe getting back on top there in the National League Central. But it's been fun, and the Phillies. Maybe that's all it needed. Booch was a managerial change, and voila, everything is solved.
It's tough to ignore the night and day difference in not just the win-loss column, but just the way the team looks and feels, and statistically across the board. There's been a significant improvement. The last time the Phillies did this, they made it all the way to the World Series, so they got that going for them. I do think, and this, you'll probably like this, Ironhead. I think this is advantage Pirates going into this weekend. In part because they've had a lot of success against the Phillies at PNC Park recently. I believe 7 out of the last 8 games.
Yeah,
the Pirates have won, and obviously the headline pitching matchup is going to come on Sunday afternoon when we're going to get to see Zach Wheeler versus Paul Skeens. But the first 2 games, I mean, especially Ironhead, I'll tell you what, Friday night, this is just like, as a Phillies fan, every time Aaron Nola gets on the mound, it really is, I may as well just go out to Happy Valley Casino and, just put a bunch of money in the slot machine, because I have about that level of confidence in Aaron Nola as a pitcher. And so I think playing at home against like the consummate hot, cold pitcher, and the Phillies just had a brutal night at the plate last night. The bats have been a little bit cold. I like the Pirates to take game 1. And then, it's again, looking at it from the perspective of Philadelphia's lack of success out in Pittsburgh the last several outings. As a Phillies fan, I'm really just hoping they can take one of the 3 games, because for as great as Zach Wheeler is, I think he's still working his way back in and shaking the rust off. And as you know, Skeens is just like a machine. Every time that guy's on the mound, I look at it and I say, well, maybe we can beat him, but I don't want to count it. And every time I see Aaron Nola, I just say I'm going to find something else to watch on TV that night.
No, it's been he's been flirting with no hitters here in a couple of the 2 of the last 3 starts. So yeah, he if anything seems to have elevated his game, if that's possible.
And the team this year seems to be growing out of that. Oh, Skeens is on the mound, so we can just take the day off mentality, which Thank Philadelphia God. Had for poor Matt Painter last night.
Yeah, again, there's still some things just drive you crazy as a Pirates fan. Just some of the base running blunders. And
by the way, I'm sorry, Andrew Painter, the head coach of the Boilermakers, was not pitching for Philadelphia. Although, it wouldn't have mattered whether he was or not, because they only got 3 hits.
Well, maybe he'd like to try that in the offseason. Branch out a little bit.
In the 5th inning on Friday night, based on how Aaron Nola's doing, I might be ready to put Matt Painter out there.
Going back to college sports, Booch. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. We'll take a break here, and then I want to get your. We talked quite a bit about it on the last couple of shows, but I want to get your thoughts on the 5-5 and kind of the impact that may have across the board a little bit in college sports, but also, have you read about the Nebraska NIL deal with Matt Rule, the head coach from State College? It's a very interesting, and I'm still not sure. Basically, Nebraska has bought the media rights, if you will, from Matt Rule for $5 million is kind of the basics of it. It's more complicated than that, but and it's just it's interesting to me, and I'm curious to see, as we move down the road. Again, there's so many moving parts to college athletics right now, but that one caught me off guard a little bit. And but as you start to think about it, I think it makes some sense both for the school and for the coach, from a security standpoint, from a stability standpoint, because you're kind of interwoven there, but also, you can manage the time maybe a little bit on behalf of your coach. Anyways, we'll kick that up. When we return, it is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox.
You look a bit nervous, hey?
Thierry, what's it like to stand in the FIFA World Cup stadium?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Just tell me. Come on.
It's not something that you can put into words.
Such a tease.
You can't rush it. You will find out when it's your time.
Thanks for the wisdom, coach. So, how much longer?
Now go and make history, my man. Here's the World Cup you've been waiting for.
Actually, the World Cup's been waiting for me.
That's the spirit. Just remember who drove you here.
Inspiring every step of the next legend. The official matchball carrier, proudly sponsored by Kia. Inspiration connects us all.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Hi, welcome to Timberland Federal Credit Union, a financial cooperative for its members, tracing all the way back to 1973.
Experience Timberland Federal Credit Union, where you're greeted with a smile and financial solutions are tailored to your unique life journey. Here, we're not just financial professionals, we're your neighbors. People invested in your financial needs, literacy, and empowerment. Your dreams matter to us, whether they're about buying a home, growing a nest egg, or embarking on new adventures. TFCU draws from the past and invests in the future, offering modern tools like online banking to give you the freedom to manage your money practically anytime. Additionally, we're passionate about giving back both time and resources because enhancing our community is at the core of why we're here. Visit TFCU in person or online to learn more about our services and apply for a membership today.
WFXX, The Fox, your sports radio.
Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7, The Fox, State College.
On a Thursday afternoon, it's the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. Goonless today, Chris Buchanani filling in for the dear Goon, who is celebrating Mother's Day weekend, a weekend late with his wife's mom. So hope they have a great weekend together. We're talking all kinds of sports. I thought one of the more interesting things that is going on now is this deal that Nebraska came up with head coach Matt Rule, State High and Penn State alum, and basically it's a $5 million deal where Nebraska is paying Rule for his NIL rights, including a podcast that he does. Again, I think different coaches are going to have different approaches. I think Matt is a guy that can handle that. I did see where Nebraska's recruiting class was ranked, was it 71st or something like that? Not exactly a strong indication that they're ready to make a big move in the Big Ten. We'll see again how all of that plays out. But I think from Matt Rule's standpoint, it gives you obviously a little more financial security. You may be able to make more than what you're getting, but you're not having to worry about going out and securing that. You can concentrate maybe a little more on the coaching end of it. And then from Nebraska's standpoint, I think it gives a little more assurance that, all right, this is our head coach for the foreseeable future. We've locked him in maybe a little more, and you can look to expand on the financial opportunities there. It was an interesting deal. I really just have given no thought to the NIL component for coaches who, have always been able to make their own commercial deals and all of that, endorsement deals. But I don't know. I thought it was an interesting twist that the Nebraska had there. I'm not sure if that's something that will necessarily catch on elsewhere or would be that big of a deal elsewhere. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
So it's an interesting genie let out of the bottle, because I think about a coach with a lot of marketability, like let's say Lane Kiffin. Like him or not, the guy is a brand. He's got a big national following because of his Twitter account. And how much money could he potentially negotiate with LSU, right? Because if you're Lane, I don't know how many people are clamoring to have a t-shirt with Matt Rule's face on it. Lane is a brand. Lane could probably sell his own merch. And so do you then, as a coach, get into a negotiation with your school about how much can they inflate your compensation by potentially owning the rights to market your brand while you're there coaching at the institution? It's funny you bring this up today, Ironhead, because I was just talking with Rogers Alexander at the cheese shop this morning about how groundbreaking it was back in the 80s when Joe signed the deal with Nike, where when they came on as the apparel supplier for Penn State, he got, like a whatever at the time. I think the first deal was like $1 million or whatever. But it wasn't paid to him by Penn State. It was paid to him by Nike. And that was a big deal. And it was a way for Penn State to kind of skirt around paying him directly.
Yeah.
So that was advantageous to the school for a whole variety of reasons. But then Joe went and was able to make a lot of money for himself doing individual licensing deals for, shirts and mugs and the cardboard stand-up Joe and all of that stuff. Although the cardboard stand-up Joe, that revenue might have gone to a charity. I can't remember. But the point being, Joe definitely marketed his own name, image, and likeness. Penn State could have made a lot of money on that over the years.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about that. And again, it's the trade-off of having that kind of off of your plate if you're a coach, and just having the security of that additional income source for you and your family.
So, like, if let's say like Nebraska has a miraculous turnaround in the next few years under Matt Rule. That's a rabid fan base that is just starving to get old-time Nebraska football back. If they have a couple of 10, 11 win seasons, they're flirting with the playoff spot. They're trying to get into a Big Ten championship game. And all of a sudden, people feel like Cornhusker football is back. And Matt Rule is credited with that. That is going to be a great deal for Nebraska, because I don't think it'll take too long between selling ads on his podcast and merchandising his image to make their $5 million back. What I'd be curious to know is, are they then able to, as they are with all the university trademarks, to sub-license the name, image, and likeness of Matt Rule? So in other words, could other, could like, just for example, could like Home Field come in and make a Matt Rule t-shirt or sweatshirt? And would that be not up to Matt Rule, but to Nebraska to license those rights? That would be an interesting aspect of that deal I'd love to dig into a little bit more.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Again, everything just is is changing so quickly here in the world of college sports that it's kind of hard to keep up with everything. A lot of talk, and again, we've talked about it a good bit on the show, but I haven't really heard your perspective, Chris, on the 5 and 5. I've mentioned I'm surprised at how quickly this thing, assuming it does go through, and it certainly looks like that is going to be the case next week. But if in fact it does, I guess I am a little surprised at just how quickly this rolled through and will come into fruition. And again, it's being implemented immediately, meaning that it'll apply to athletes starting with the upcoming school year. Not necessarily surprised that we're heading that 5 and 5 direction, but does seem like we did warp speed on this particular maneuver.
Do you remember how quaint it was only a couple years ago, Ironhead, when you and I thought Carter Starace would be the only 5-time national champion in the history of collegiate wrestling?
Yep. How about it?
Now that's going to be a milestone that guys can actually chase. It's still going to be incredibly difficult to do, but it's going to be possible. Sure. I agree. It's a little surprising that the change was approved or is going to be approved so rapidly. I think that's probably attributable to 3 things. First of all, compared to all the other changes in the sport, it feels almost small, right? So people understand what we're talking about is college sports is going to move from a model of 5 years to play 4 to 5 years to play 5. So you just get 5 years, you can play 5 years. 5 years of eligibility. So I do think it's just like, this feels like something that they can actually wrap their hands around and get control over. Whereas all the other stuff like the portal and the NIL and the future of all these other sports, it just feels unmanageable. They can't get Congress to act. They're no closer to athlete collective bargaining today than they were in July of 2021 when all of this started.
Yep.
There's a lot of hot air blown about it. So just having something they can do and just say, hey, this is going to happen, and have it not result in years and years of litigation, which this still might, we'll see. But I think that's part of it. I do think coming out of the COVID situation where teams were managing so many oddball roster situations makes it an easier pill to swallow, because it's not hypothetical, right? They can actually imagine what it is like working with rosters with guys who stick around for 5 or more years. And I also feel like, in contrast to some of these other major changes that might be on the horizon, I feel like the possibility of play five has been something that has been discussed in college sports circles for a long time. So again, I think it just feels like a little more fleshed out, a little more understood, and it's something that people can wrap their brains around. Now, as to how much impact it's going to actually have when it goes into effect, I don't know. Again, I just feel like where we're at right now, there have been so many exemptions granted for so many different, let's call them tenuous claims on additional eligibility. I don't think it's going to feel that different to what we've had the last several years.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think really the biggest change is going to be just for coaches and the way they manage their rosters, right? And like you've had that flexibility to, hey, we're going to take a year and just develop you. And that to me is still going to be one of the more interesting components to this is, how comfortable are guys taking a year to develop versus, hey, if I think I'm the best guy, I want to be given that opportunity right out of the gate. And, with everything else that's in play now with NIL and transfer portal and all of that, how much does that disrupt even further what you're trying to do from one year to the next? And I also do wonder on the recruiting front, and again, part of this probably depends on what kind of parameters, assuming we are going to have some parameters put back in place regarding the transfer portal. But, right now, a hot shot, number one recruit in the country may be looking at going to a basketball roster or a football roster where they know, hey, they have a fifth-year guy. I mean, it's part of why coaches will recruit that guy. Is, all right, we're going to let you learn for a year under our already established superstar. Are guys going to be as willing to do that? Or are they going to look for, I see you already have an established superstar. Maybe I'll transfer to you next year. Let's keep in touch, but I'm going to go over here and see what kind of an impact I can make as a true freshman. And I don't know, maybe that's not something that's going to play out much at all. Maybe it's going to play out more frequently than not. I don't know, but it does, I think, change the recruiting dynamic for sure. And then for rosters next year, obviously, it again, in a lot of cases, conversations were already had, presumably, for football or basketball teams, or again, any other sport. I mean, volleyball or wrestling or whatever. I mean, you're talking to your kids, hey, we think, next year might make sense to redshirt. Well, now all of that's out the window. And, Good and I have been talking, I mean, obviously Penn State Wrestling, you have a guy like Jaden James coming in, who, by the way, we'll touch on in a moment, but looked pretty darn good in the quarterfinals today at the World Team Trials. But you have a guy like that coming in that everybody, including me, was presuming, hey, well, he'll redshirt this year. And then, the heir apparent to Mitchell Messenbrink, probably at 65. Well, now does he come in and say, no, I'm going to go and again, it's not going to be a given, even if he tries to go there. But I'm going to drop down to 57, or I'm going to go up to 74. And again, Penn State has lots of strong competition at all of those weights. But it is going to be interesting to see, not just at Penn State, but with other wrestling programs and other programs across the board. Again, just some of that competition that you weren't thinking was really going to be competition for a roster spot in a given season now all of a sudden will be for the upcoming year, because nobody's going to just willingly concede a year of eligibility if they feel like they can go out there and compete.
Do you remember Ironhead college sports? Remember that? Like you're gonna go to college, and if you happen to be an exceptional athlete, you're going to be able to learn and eventually compete at sports at a high level.
I vaguely do recall.
That was a thing. I enjoyed that while that was around. Yep. If you're an exceptional student coming out of high school, you can get offered entrance to the Schreier Honors College. So if you want to come study engineering or sciences at Penn State, and you're just an exceptional academic achiever, you can go to the Schreier Honors College. But you know what? They don't, when you step on campus, say, well, okay, you can design a bridge now that people are going to have to drive over, and then we'll explain to you how to do it next year. But you know what? Just go ahead and design a bridge right now. Or you know what? Just go start conducting experiments. It's fine. You can take your science classes in a couple of years. If you think you sound like an old man yelling at cloud, get me going on college sports and what it's turning into. So yeah, I mean, I don't love it, but it is what it is. You circle back to our conversation about the Virginia Tech quarterback room. Can you imagine if this season Gronk had 4 more years of eligibility left,
right?
And Troy Hoon had 5, and he was a year behind him, and then you're going to add Bork in there, and he was a year behind him. I mean, at least in football, I don't know how it's going to play out in wrestling for 2 reasons. There aren't as many places to go, and certainly we have seen some guys who are willing to wait their turn just to be a part of Penn State Wrestling and to be coached by Cale Sanderson. Yep. But in football, it's going to distribute the talent even more widely than it is already, because guys aren't going to be willing to sit and wait for 2 and 3 years.
I think that's right, Booch, but here's the other component to it where I don't know, because if you are being paid handsomely to even be on the bench, right? It's like, well, this makes it a little more palatable, and I'm still, part of a playoff team every year, and I'm an injury away from being the guy. I don't know. You may be right, but I can also see where, and again, part of it is going to depend on the school and how some of these finances ultimately break out, because but if I'm getting as much or even close to as much money to be part of the Georgia football program, and I'm going to be a backup for a couple of years, maybe even 3, but I'm going to be part of what I think is the best staff in the country or the best program in the country. And again, maybe there's an injury there and I get the start, but I'm getting paid as much, or in some cases maybe more than Purdue football, where I could be the superstar. Well, and again, I know other big programs, we're talking about the top end recruits are going to be going after them, but I'm just saying, if you hit it off with a staff and you feel like, again, I'm going to be developed there, looking at my NFL future or whatever it may be, as well as anywhere else, the money's going to be the same. It's a little less wear and tear depending on your position.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that.
I don't know how some of these kids are going to look at it. I think for some, yes, it'll be an ego thing, and I want to be a 5-year starter because I only have the 5 years, and that's for. And I don't even think, we talked a little bit about this on Tuesday. I'm not going to fault a kid either way. I don't think there's any great honor necessarily in biding your time and then emerging as the starter. Again, you have 5 years. It's a college experience. Now the money's involved as well, but it also is, hey, you want to be out there and playing the game, like actually playing it, not just practicing it. So I get that. And I don't fault anybody for it, but I also, I do think there is some reward there to being patient and to trying to become the very best you can be if you think there's a spot where that truly can happen. Maybe you hold out for that opportunity at that particular school. And again, I think it'll vary kid to kid and program to program. It's just, we've talked about if you grew up all of your life, as many of us did, dreaming of being a Penn State football player, and it's like, well, okay, I could go be a 5-year starter at Michigan State, or I could go to Penn State, my dream school, and probably not have a real opportunity for a couple of years to be the starter. You're probably going to go to Penn State if you're being offered that opportunity. But if you're a kid that didn't grow up with any allegiance, it may just be, hey, and especially if you come from a tougher circumstance, hey, who's paying the most? Who's going to help me and my family, adjust our lifestyle here? And again, I'm not going to fault anybody for any decisions they make there. That's the beauty of having the freedom of choice and being able to make those decisions for yourself and for your family. So, but I am curious to see how that plays out, both in the immediate future for the upcoming season. And I've had a bunch of people, I have no idea how this is going to play out for Penn State Wrestling. I'd love to sit here and I've been around the program, so I know. I'm telling you, Cal Sanderson doesn't know how this is going to play out. I'm watching Jaden James today. If you didn't see it at the World Team Trials down in Kentucky, he got 5 takedowns. He beat Joe Seeley 10-0, and Joe Seeley, of course, had a phenomenal U.S. Open a few weeks ago, where he beat David Carr among others, and Seeley went in as the top seed. Jaden James, the next high school phenom, ready to make the transition to college, and projected to be most likely at 165. And again, the thought process was, well, he'll redshirt this year, let Mitchell Messenbrink finish up his career, and then Penn State has its starter for the next 4 years. You're watching Jaden James, and freestyle can sometimes be a little misleading in that you can get that score by getting the takedown, and then you get one leg lace and you just roll the guy 4 times. And hats off. I'm not. That's wonderful. This was not that. If you didn't see it, again, 10-0. Sometimes there's just different 10-0 scores. To me, getting 5 takedowns to none is extremely impressive. Especially when you're doing it against a guy that was wrestling the way Joe Seeley has been as of late. I just and James just didn't let Seeley get to his legs, and then when he did get to Seeley's leg, he converted on 5 of the 6 shots by my unofficial count. So that is very impressive stuff by Jaden James, and we'll see how he finishes up. But as far as 33 and 41, and then 57 through 74. Again, I have no idea how this is going to play out. I don't know if PJ Duke now is looking at this saying, well, I'll stay at 57, where the thought was he might go up to 65 or even 74, but take a redshirt year to do it. Well, now maybe he says, I'll stay at 57 and take my chances against KSAC. And I mean, you got two big-time alpha dogs there, if that is how that plays out. Maybe PJ Duke goes up and says, yeah, Mitchell, I know you've been the top dog in all of college wrestling, but this is my spot now, and if you want to make the lineup, you go up to 74. I have no idea. I think obviously Mitchell has been very special for a very long time, but man, we see things change quickly in the sports world. So I have no idea how this is all going to play out is the short answer. I appreciate all of the questions, but I'm just like everybody else. I want to see how it plays out. And I, part of it is going to be kids trying to decide, for example, a PJ Duke could go to 57 and say, all right, I want to challenge Tyler Kasak here. And, just was hypothetically, I'm not making any predictions here, but if Kasak beats him out, then maybe he says, all right, well, give me a shot at Messenbrink. And if he loses that, well, let me take a shot at 74 and whoever, however that plays out. And there's a lot of guys there that, Will Hankel certainly in the mix, but a lot of guys that could potentially try to move up as well. And so it's going to be fascinating because, again, it takes away that that year of development, if you will, where everybody is on the same page. Hey, it's just development. I mean, all of these guys, obviously, your hope are developing every day and all of that in the room. But, again, there was a thought process for particular individuals next year that maybe you take the year off. Well, now that goes out the window, and it's like, well, I want the opportunity anyway to see if I can win a starting spot. And when you have a room full of alpha dogs the way Penn State does, again, you still only have the 10 starting spots. You probably have 15 or 16, maybe more than that. I haven't sat down and really thought that through, but at least 15 or 16 like elite wrestlers that are guys that I think realistically could contend for national titles. Well, that means you're going to have 5 or 6 of those guys at least anyway that aren't going to be in your starting lineup in the coming season and will use a year of eligibility of their collegiate eligibility not being a starter.
Yeah, as you run through all of that, it now gets the gears turning, Ironhead, and I just think about all of the downstream effects of just removing redshirting as a concept across all of these sports. And obviously it makes more of a difference in some than others. Probably, I mean, redshirting basically doesn't exist in college basketball anymore, but it's pretty important in a lot of other sports.
Yeah.
Has been.
And this is, this is the other thing, Booch, especially with the transfer portal being the way it is right now, is I'm wondering aloud, and I have no idea. Maybe this is not something that would take place, but I am wondering if if you are. I don't even want to use your T-Max and you're one of the top 5 programs in your sport, and your coach has a great relationship with one of the really good MAC schools or one of the really good Western Conference programs. I am wondering if will be conversations, and I'm not sure what the legality, I don't know with the NCAA rules, what is or isn't permitted, but hey, Johnny, you're not going to start for us. We think it'd be benefit to have you in our program and learn our way, but who coaches a similar style is this guy out at this other conference. You could go start there, get your statistics piled up, and we happen to have the guy that's the best in the country that'll be departing next season at your position. Just reminding you that we'll be here. And again, if I'm the MAC school or I'm the West Conference school, on the surface, you may as well, no, I'm not going to. Well, aren't you? You're not going to take that superstar for a year and see if you can capture a little magic, even if you know that it's only going to be a year. I mean, the big time programs are doing that with the future NBA stars in basketball, or we just saw Penn State hockey do it with Gavin McKenna. Why would you not do that if you're one of those schools? And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I am wondering if, you start to look around and I don't know what the benefit, I'm trying to think that through a little bit. I think there's benefit to being a starter and to playing and getting the experience versus being in a program or a system, right? And again, if it's a similar program or a similar system, maybe not program, but a similar system that you can learn in and get that starting experience, playing experience, not just practicing or learning from other talented guys. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways I could see this playing out or impacting sports at large, and I just don't have a good enough sense for how some of that stuff is set up or can be set up to know. But just wondering aloud, I mean, it seems to me like that would be at least a possibility where, hey, yeah, we know you want to be a 5-year starter. Yeah, it's not going to happen here just because we have, this player right now, but that player will be gone in a year or two. Here's some other programs that we think are maybe good fits for you to get started. I don't know.
And, you talk about the changes it'll make at the front end of your college career. Could be some tough conversations at the back end, too.
For sure.
Because those teams are working through the roster limits and the available money. The question is, do we really want to have you here for 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great, yep. That's going to be another part of it as well. And for sure, in some of these sports where, again, you have that phenom coming up as, man, we've never seen anything like this as a lacrosse forward, or never seen anything like this as a setter in volleyball. And, well, yeah, but we have one of the top three. Well, yeah, we have one of the top three right now. But this one here, right, and we've seen it happen in big-time college football programs where you have an established quarterback. Hey, this guy might be a Heisman Trophy contender next season. Oops, yeah, except he's not going to be our starter because the freshman here just has a great grasp of it, picked it up quickly, and is an even better overall prospect or even maybe player at the moment.
Yeah, which is why I've always said, and it's doubled down on it here in this latest era of college football and college sports. Instead of going the direction we've gone, which is to make everything super loosey-goosey, where no one's committed to anyone and the college can move on at any time and the player can move on at any time. I wish they would have gone the opposite direction. I wish they would have made it virtually impossible for a college to cut a player who's doing everything that he's obligated to do as a student and as an athlete.
Yeah.
But also made it a little bit tougher for the player to transfer so that the initial commitment process, yes, we are offering you a scholarship to come be a Nittany Lion. Yes, I am signing my name on the line and committing to go do that. That there would have been more forethought required of both parties at the front end. I think, again, in the spirit of college sports, remember that college sports, that's what we're still supposedly doing here. This is not the NFL with a collegiate coat of paint on it. I always thought that was more ideal, both in terms of what the mission of universities and of college sports should be, and also from the fans' perspective. I bring this up all the time. Nobody ever asks what the fans want when they're talking about changing the sports around, even though we're the ones paying the money. We're the ones creating the value. Televised college football is worth billions of dollars only because we say it is, because we show up and watch it. And I think it has been true always, that what has distinguished college football from all the, USFL and UFL and AFL and XFL wannabe pro leagues that all failed is that it was its own thing, as distinct from pro football, not just a lower level of pro football. And so anything that moves us farther away from college football being its own distinct product and more like a low rent version of the NFL, I think is bad. I think it's bad for the athletes, it's bad for the institutions. And I suspect it's possible it will prove to be bad for the long-term value of the sport, because we've just seen over and over and over again that when you just try to go head to head with the NFL with basically the same model but an inferior product, you fail financially.
Well, I do wonder, Booch, if you can effectively do what you're saying, but through the contractual obligations where you make it cost prohibitive. And, again, it's all got to be spelled out and gone over by the lawyers and all of that. But it just seems to me you could spell out, hey, as long as you are, I don't know if going to class is even a necessity anymore. Just for a moment, let's pretend like it's important that, hey, we're going to require, as long as you're going to class, you're maintaining some kind of a grade, you're showing up to the practices when we tell you need to show up to, you're, like you said, you're doing all of the things you're obligated to do as a member of our program, a member of our team, then you will be a member of this team and you get, whatever the financial arrangement is.
Yeah.
But also you need to be here for, let's say at least the 4 years, maybe there's the fifth year option, if you will. But, and then if you do decide that you're going to go elsewhere, it is going to cost you, more than just, hey, pay back what we've given you. Like it's got to be a significant impact to where, it's going to cause a pause both for you and the potential next stop.
Right. But whatever school is recruiting you to come there in the portal, they've got to sit down and say, all right, we're going to have to pay this guy to come here and we're going to have to pay his buyout. And is he worth that money to us? Yeah, 100%. Now, of course, the caveat there is that some schools have tried to put buyouts into player contracts. And we've seen in 3 high-profile cases this offseason, 3 different results. You had Damon Williams at Washington, who signed his deal, then said, hey, LSU's offering me a bunch of money. I'm going to go in the transfer portal. And Washington was like, actually, you're not, because you're going to owe us this huge buyout. And he went and hired a lawyer, and 24 hours later posted how excited he was to be a Washington Husky.
Hey, that lawyer took Washington.
Yeah, he took a look at that contract and he was like, yeah, hey, buddy, I think you're going back to Seattle. So that was one case where the buyout actually worked as intended. Then we're never going to see how this one played out. Brendan Sorsby has a $1 million buyout at Cincinnati. He goes and he signs with Texas Tech. And Texas Tech just says, no, we're not going to pay that. We'll see you in court. And their thinking is, this is all, again, kind of loosey-goosey. Maybe we'll get out of this. Maybe we'll have to pay less. And maybe Cincinnati will not have the stomach to fight our oil baron money in court, and they'll just let it drop, in which case the buyout doesn't work the way it's intended. Now, we never got to see that litigated because of the whole gambling situation with Brendan Sorsby. Yeah. But then the third example was with the Duke quarterback who went to Miami, whose name is just escaping me at the moment. But that was a situation where he was under contract with Duke, wanted to go to Miami. Miami wanted to pay him. And Duke basically said, hey, look, we have this buyout. We are willing to litigate it, but why don't we just settle out of court for an amount that is less than the buyout in the contract, but still an amount we're willing to take? And even in that case, Ironhead, I would say for all intents and purposes, the buyout worked because the kid that got to go play where he wanted to play, he went to an institution that was desirous of having his services to the point that they would give him a big NIL package plus a buyout. And Duke got, I think like $600,000-$700,000 out of the deal.
Yeah. And again, the other part of this still is the collective bargaining element, which at some point is going to have to come into play. But I don't know how, and I think that's still going to be one of the biggest hurdles here for college athletics to overcome. Is how do you go about setting up the collective bargaining? Who is it that does the collective bargaining, and with whom do you do the collective bargaining?
That's a great question.
Because right now, like the NCAA actually seems like the least likely organization that you'd be bargaining with. But again, to me, you can't have individual sports bargaining with individual conferences, right? But like that defeats the entire purpose of hey, we need to get some sort of uniformity in place. Well, that's just going to guarantee even more calamity. So, we've got to figure out some sort of a governing board at the very least for football and basketball. And maybe, it's a separate one for all of the other sports, or maybe it is just football and basketball, and then they let the others have whatever crumbs they're willing to lay for the rest of the programs. I don't know. Again, to me, that the collective bargaining part, while absolutely necessary, is probably the messiest part, or the most difficult to try to figure out
easily,
even how to go about beginning to set that up. All right, we're going to take a break here, back with one final segment on our Thursday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show.
You look a bit nervous, hey?
Thierry, what's it like to stand in the FIFA World Cup stadium?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Just tell me. Come on.
It's not something that you can put into words.
Such a tease.
You can't rush it. You will find out when it's your time.
Thanks for the wisdom, coach. So, how much longer?
Now go and make history, my man. Here's the World Cup you've been waiting for.
Actually, the World Cup's been waiting for me.
That's the spirit. Just remember who drove you here.
Inspiring every step of the next legend. The official matchball carrier, proudly sponsored by Kia. Inspiration connects us all.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Hi, welcome to Timberland Federal Credit Union, a financial cooperative for its members, tracing all the way back to 1973.
Experience Timberland Federal Credit Union, where you're greeted with a smile and financial solutions are tailored to your unique life journey. Here, we're not just financial professionals, we're your neighbors. People invested in your financial needs, literacy, and empowerment. Your dreams matter to us, whether they're about buying a home, growing a nest egg, or embarking on new adventures. TFCU draws from the past and invests in the future, offering modern tools like online banking to give you the freedom to manage your money practically anytime. Additionally, we're passionate about giving back both time and resources because enhancing our community is at the core of why we're here. Visit TFCU in person or online to learn more about our services and apply for a membership today.
WFXX, once again, the Fox, your sports radio.
Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7, the Fox State College.
One final segment for our Thursday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show at Quaker Steak and Lube, where the beloved Pittsburgh Pirates did take 2 of 3 from the Rockies, closing out the series finale with the win earlier today. So a little momentum heading into the big series with the Phillies this weekend at PNC Park. Again, should be just a lot of fun. And yeah, not a bad pitching matchup on Sunday afternoon for the fans fortunate enough to be on hand for that one, with Skeens and Wheeler set to square off against each other. Again, lots going on in the college sports world.
Old man moment for me. I was muted. I was just going to say it's a pity it's not the July 4th weekend series as it often is. Ironhead, because I would love to see Wheeler versus Nola, or Wheeler versus Skeens, with Zach having pitched for another month or so. And I mean, I know they're going to meet up again at the end of June in Philly, but you just never know how the schedules are going to shake out. We're probably not going to get that matchup again.
I mean, you wouldn't think, but who knows? We can hope. Just going back to the playoff format for a moment, Booch, as well. With the 24 team format, and now the ACC says they are all in favor of it, and it seems like everybody is trying to put pressure on the SEC. I am really curious to see how the SEC responds, because I have a feeling they don't like the idea of being pressured when they look at themselves as the top dog. But at the end of the day, it's going to be more revenue, I think, ultimately for everybody involved, and I think that's going to prevail. Now, I don't think it'll be for the upcoming season. I think that ship has sailed, but I think it's going to be sooner rather than later that we see this come to fruition.
I think for the longest time in the SEC front office, Ironhead, they believed that if it came to the nuclear option, that they could win a nuclear war, that they could break off on their own and do their own thing, and it would be sustainable financially.
I think that's right.
And I think that at one point in time, they might have been right. Like, that might have been correct. I just think the landscape has shifted, and that's not true anymore. And I think there's just a slow realization in the SEC front office that the conditions that gave them ultimate confidence that they could just do whatever they wanted are no longer the conditions on the ground. That's just, it's the things have changed in the sport, and you are now no longer the supreme ruler of the universe, guys.
I think, it's, to me, it's a matter of how willing they are to accept that reality versus, hey, nope, we're going to dig our heels in and fight this as long as we can. But I really don't think that's going to be very long because, that opportunity to break off and do your own thing, I think, I do think that would be financially catastrophic at this point for the SEC, and really, I mean, for any of the conferences. The Big Ten is probably the one that would be in the best position to do that. But even there, you have to have other teams, other programs that you can play to make this thing a workable entity. And again, I do think. Goon's been talking about it for a long time. I do think we're going to end up with, probably two kind of super conferences, but in terms of big time football, probably 60-ish programs that will play that big time football. And it's going to be too many playoff spots, but what professional sport do fans think doesn't have too many playoff spots, except when their team is the last one in? Then it is the right number. Never mind.
Well, baseball was the last holdout, right?
And they held out as long as they could, and then realized, we got to join the party.
Although I'll take the format they have now versus the one that was in between the old school version and what we have today. We just had the one game playoffs. That was silly.
It was rough. No question. All right. That is going to wrap things up for our show today. We hope everybody has a great weekend. We will be back on Tuesday. Booch, thank you for filling in as always. Always great to hear the perspective of Mr. Buchanani. Folks, we hope you have a great weekend. Again, we'll be back on Tuesday. Until then, be good and be safe. And let's go Bucs.
You look a bit nervous, hey?
Thierry, what's it like to stand in the FIFA World Cup stadium?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Just tell me. Come on.
It's not something that you can put into words.
Such a tease.
You can't rush it. You will find out when it's your time.
Thanks for the wisdom, Coach. So, how much longer?
Now go and make history, my man. Here's the World Cup you've been waiting for.
Actually, the World Cup's been waiting for me.
That's the spirit. Just remember who drove you here.
Inspiring every step of the next legend. The official matchball carrier, proudly sponsored by Kia. Inspiration connects us all.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Hi, welcome to Timberland Federal Credit Union, a financial cooperative for its members, tracing all the way back to 1973.
Experience Timberland Federal Credit Union, where you're greeted with a smile and financial solutions are tailored to your unique life journey. Here, we're not just financial professionals, we're your neighbors, people invested in your financial needs, literacy, and empowerment. Your dreams matter to us, whether they're about buying a home, growing a nest egg, or embarking on new adventures. TFCU draws from the past and invests in the future, offering modern tools like online banking to give you the freedom to manage your money practically anytime. Additionally, we're passionate about giving back both time and resources because enhancing our community is at the core of why we're here. Visit TFCU in person or online to learn more about our services and apply for a membership today.
WFXX, your sports radio.
Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7, the Fox State.